In today's episode of Storm Stories, we travel back in time to May 27th, 1997, Jarrell, Texas, 3:48 p.m. in the evening. A massive multi-vortex twister is entering the neighborhood. People are hunkering down in their homes, waiting for the storm to pass. But this storm is not your typical thunderstorm. In fact, it is not your typical tornado. It is a massive, half-mile wide beast with wind speeds close to 300 miles per hour. This monster was moving at only 3 miles an hour, and it grew in size to 3/4 of a mile wide. It struck its first home in the northeastern part of the subdivision. A clock was found in the debris with its time stopped at 3:48, marking the time the nightmare started for the Double E subdivision. This rotating buzzsaw unleashed 300-mile-per-hour winds on the neighborhood for 3 minutes, completely demolishing homes, leaving only concrete slabs remaining. Unfortunately, when the carnage was done, 27 people lost their lives, including 5 members of the Igo family, 4 members of the Marine family, and 3 members of the Smith family. Hundreds of cattle were also lost in the storm. The storm was very unusual in many ways. Its path was not your typical tornado path. It moved from northeast to southwest, opposite of the direction most tornadoes move in. Its movement was only a crawl at 3 miles per hour. This only enhanced its destruction. The upper level conditions supporting tornadoes were only at moderate levels, but the low levels were loaded with super rich moisture. What enhanced the localized severe parameters was the location of a weak cold front to the northwest of Jarrell and a gravity wave moving from northeast to southwest. When these collided, it was like a bomb going off. The only safe place to be in the path of this storm was underground. However, there were survivors on the edge of the circulation. One of them was 9-year-old Christian LaFrance. She said she and her parents were looking out the doorway, and they could see it, a skinny little string. This was the monster in its infancy. Her dad told her to take the cushions off the sofa and take them to the bathroom. They all huddled there, and Kristen got into the tub, her back against the wall. Her mother sat in front of her. There wasn't enough room in the tub for her dad, so he squatted next to it. Kristen said she heard something that sounded like pots and pans banging into each other. I remember my dad saying, "Hold on tight." She said in an instant everything was gone. The wall behind her fell on her, pushing her down. Dirt filled her mouth and she couldn't breathe. She remembered trying to spit it out, then everything went black. Kristen awoke in her front yard, rain pouring down on her. It stung as it hit the gashes in her body. A large chunk of her right arm had been torn away. She had a long gash on her hip going around to her behind. A cut on her knee, a cut on her head, but no broken bone. She could lift her left arm and her head, but nothing else. She looked around and her home was gone. The bathtub that she sat in moments before was disintegrated. They never found a piece of it. She heard someone screaming. It was her mom, several feet away, her jaw broken, buried beneath a tree. Kristen was able to recognize her by her gold watch. Her dad was nowhere in sight. She learned later he died. Her aunt identified him looking at a Polaroid photo. Kristen and her mom were taken to the hospital. She spent a month in recovery. Kristen's life was never the same. She lost 2 friends who lived across the street. Another survivor was Adana Peterson. She and her family took shelter in a bathroom. When they crawled out, the bathroom walls were the only thing left standing on their property. The survivors of the Jarrell tornado and the Jarrell community at large rebuilt their neighborhood, but the scars remain, because nothing can bring back the people who lost their lives in this awful storm. This concludes this episode of Storm Stories about the Jarrell tornado. If you like weather-related content, please like and subscribe.